Hello, everyone, and welcome to this Banter Blitz. My name is Tor Fredrik Kaasen.
Hello.
I'm 19 years old and I'm from Norway.
Everyone,
and that 24:58. I'm doing here my first ever Banter Blitz, so it should be a lot of fun. So I'm going to be explaining my thought process during the games. I would prefer if you can challenge me by 3+0 or 3+1 or 3+2. So let's get started. So let's accept them. Challenge. I'm here playing against Python Nager. So good game. E4. So I'm usually playing the Sicilian with the black pieces. It has been my main opening throughout my chess career so far. So she plays the knight to c3, knight f6, a3. So the idea is probably to keep the light square bishop. I go knight to c6. Bishop a2. Logical. You can either play with g6 or e6 versus such setups. Okay, so h4. This is the new school of chess, just pushing the h-pawn. Harry the h-pawn is maybe now called. Okay, let me play maybe h6. So to meet h5 with g5, I do not wish to have to take on h5 with my knight. Then maybe some sacrifices can happen on h5. So I would rather just keep the game more calm. Bishop g7. So let's see. Usually in positions like this, I like to go rook to b8 and b5, b4. So bishop to e3. So she allows me knight to g4. Though I'm not so certain it gives me something for the moment. So I'm just going to go rook to b8 first, preparing to go b5 and b4. What is also good with having played h6 is that now it's not as easy for white to go a queen to d2 and bishop to h6, exchanging off my dark square bishop. So I think this is good for me to keep this bishop on g7. It's both a very strong piece and also defensive. So I think I'm gonna keep on with my plan with b5 here, wanting to go b4, saying that maybe it will not be so good to castle queenside here. So knight f3. So it's always very tempting here to go for the move b4, knight to g4 rather, but I think then white could go bishop to f4. So I'm not sure if it gives me something right now. So maybe I should here play a move like queen to c7. It's like a usual square for the queen in the Sicilian in general. So let's see. Rook to b1. Okay, let me go push pawn with to a5 here, and I want to go b4. So she foresees this and go knight to d5. Takes. It's all quite logical so far. Now that white took with the pawn on d5, the bishop on a2 is perhaps not the best piece. So I think I should be doing quite well here. I go knight to d4, so I can take back with the pawn. If I would have played knight e5 instead, maybe then white takes, and I can't take back with the bishop as h6 is hanging. So quite tricky position. But I think if now white takes, I would take back with the pawn and have the open c file. Can potentially put some pressure on the c2 pawn. So I think I'm doing quite well here. But so far a very exciting game. White has certainly not been playing passively. So let's see what white now does. Not so easy actually for white to know what to do, since if it's my turn, I probably want to take on f3, which will cripple the pawns for white, which will be quite bad in the long term. So probably I'm threatening something like knight takes f3, gf, and maybe play h5 to not allow this. Yeah, play queen to d1, but now I get bishop to g4 with a pin here. And it makes me think that I'm doing quite well here, since the bishop on a2 is also not doing so well. Bishop takes d4. Now I can take with the pawn, which would give me the open c file. I also have the extra option of going bishop takes d4, which I kind of like. The point is that if white takes, then the queen on d1 is hanging, so white goes c3, I go bishop to g7. I now have the bishop pair, which is something I think is quite good. So it was hard. Okay, now at some point b4 should be quite good. Maybe here, though. If now b4, maybe some queen to a4 is a bit unpleasant. So let's castle first to not allow any checks, and then we go pawn with b4. This makes my darker bishop quite strong here on g7. So ab, I go ab myself. If cb, it could have been some problems. So white now goes d4. Sensible, I go bc. Open up the b file. So now I go rook to b2, which hits the bishop on a2. And now my trick is that if rook to c2, I can take it and I can take on d4 as it's a pin here on the c file. So I should probably go like maybe bishop to b3 or bishop to b1, but I certainly think that white is here on the back foot, so to say. Let's go rook to b8, maybe just put some more pressure on the position. It's good that it's 3+2. That means that it won't be some flagging. Yeah, and now white played queen to d3. Though I think this is maybe a blunder, as I now have bishop to f5, which pins the queen and the bishop, and that should win me a piece as far as I can see. So that should be the end of this game. But a very fighting game by white. Yeah, so queen to d1, I now go rook takes b1. And as like white can take on b1 also, but in the end I will be a queen up, as queen is of course the most valuable piece. So this should be the end. Rook takes b1, I go rook takes b1. Yeah, as I said, like at the end of the day, white takes back, but I have a queen for a rook, and so that's good for me. CD, let's go queen c2 maybe. It's good that I have the pawn on h6, which gives me some, which makes sure that I'm not getting back rank checkmated. Okay, let's go bishop takes d4. The idea is that after knight takes d4, I have queen to d1 check. Here I go queen takes f2 and bishop to e5 check, which after knight takes. Though I allowed the d pawn going forward, but I don't think it matters. And yeah, my point was that after rook takes e5, I have queen to f4 check, which checks the king and the white rook on e5. So that was the end of this game. Very exciting game actually, with this play with bishop to a2 and then h4, h5. I've never seen this system before, so exciting game. Okay, let's see forward. Let's try this game. And I'm playing against, okay, I will not try to pronounce this game, but this name rather, but okay, let's see. So rated 2061. So I'm thinking this is going to be a tough game. So e4, c5, knight f3, the main move. So nowadays, so many Sicilians are playable that it's hard to keep track of everything. But I, generally speaking, go for the main lines with d4 here. Knight takes d4. So let's see. Knight f6, knight to c3. So now we will see if black goes for the classical Sicilian or the Najdorf, or for the dragon. Bishop to d7 is also a possibility. But okay, so we have the classical Sicilian. Bishop to g5 here is probably the best move, but I like sometimes to go for bishop to c4 here. Favored by Bobby Fischer. So let's see. Okay, e6, and I go bishop to b3. Just making sure that the bishop is a bit more safe here. Hello, everyone. I'm reading the YouTube chat, so please feel free to ask some questions and so on. So okay, so now the general idea with the bishop on b3 is to go f4 and f5. So here I go f4. It is just important to not go f5 on the next move, as I've done sometimes, as that queen to b6, bishop e3 and e5 can come. So you have to be careful about these things. So let's see how black will deal with this setup. I think if black knows how to play here, it should, objectively speaking, don't be an edge for white, but it's a bit maybe out of fashion, this line, so maybe not all black players know how to do. So here once I sometimes played with move f5, but then queen to b6 actually wins a piece for black, so it's important to not fall into that trap. We first go bishop to e3 here. Yeah, so he takes, I go bishop takes d4. Now I think b5 is one way of playing. Yeah, and here you go e5, and we reach quite a critical position quite soon. e5. Yeah, so I'm 19 years old and I'm from Norway. So yes. I've been playing chess since I was 8 years old, so for quite some time. So yeah, now f takes e5, we open up the f file. This pawn is potentially a weakness, but could also be a strength, as it takes many squares. So very double-edged position. So let's see here. I think by theory this is considered to be quite equal, but never easy to prove. Here move knight to e4. I want to go knight to d6, which it will stand quite well. Black must take, and then I take back. I have the bishop pair. So let's see. So I think his username is like, you must lose to Bogus. So I think he's referring to Magnus Carlsen's nickname on Chess24, Musi Bogus, or something like this. So I hope it's not Magnus playing here. Okay, queen to c7. So I think this is perhaps a bit too passive move. Maybe bishop to b7 was a bit better, but let's see how to punish it. So of course never easy in Blitz. So let me think how I should play here. So he wants to go knight takes e5. So my first instinct would be to go queen to g4 here, though I'm a bit afraid of knight takes e5 and that I won't have a clear follow-up by queen to g4, knight takes e5, queen to g3 maybe, but then f6. Maybe not fully convincing. So perhaps I start with queen to h5, protecting my pawn on e5, and if g6, I'm just going to go queen to h6 and argue that he has weakened his king more. Yeah, king to h1 is one of these moves that is very typical, just going out of this diagonal. But as long as it's not like entirely useful right now, like I can afford to not make this move, I will prefer to not make it, as it also loses some time. So it's important to judge these things right. Yeah, so bishop to b7. So now my first instinct would be to calculate rook takes f7. So let's see if it works. Rook takes f7. If rook takes, I have bishop takes e6, rook f8, rook f1. So it seems very messy. Perhaps it's working, very hard to tell. I'm not sure if it's working at all, but okay, it's Banter Blitz. So let's see if it works. I'm not sure about this at all. So, okay, if he takes on e4, I can take on e7 at the very least. So, yeah, rook takes, bishop takes, rook f8, rook f1. Seems like I'm cashing in on f7, and that should be good news for me, if bishop takes e6, I have queen takes f7 and queen takes e7. And if g6, I have bishop takes f7 check and it falls on h7. Maybe that's what he should go for. It's hard to say. Yeah, now I have queen takes f7 check, hitting the king, and I'm going to take on e7 next, and I'm winning a piece, or I'm regaining my piece rather. Though now I see that he has a potential dangerous move here. Though I think I should be doing well here. Yeah, he has queen takes c2, which is a bit unpleasant, so I have to watch out here how to defend my position. Bishop f2 is a possibility, but then rook f8 is maybe slightly unpleasant. So, okay, he's threatening checkmate, so maybe let's just go bishop to h3, defending g2 and maybe preparing to go e6, which would counter-attack the g7 spot, which is going to be a make. So, yeah, if you should study chess from a book or just analyze your games, well, I think ideally it's best to do both, to both study the books. Maybe you can think about what's in your game that's lacking. What should I improve on? Nowadays, it's so many books about everything, so I would highly recommend it. But also, analyzing your game is very important. So here I won on time, though I think the position was winning. Anyways, I think the mistake that you made was perhaps to go queen to c7, and here I had this rook takes f7, but good game. It was tough game. So let's see. Okay, let's try this challenge from Ireland Chess. It's 3+0, so I'm sorry if I won't have too much time to explain my thoughts here as things are going so fast. So, okay, Black here plays the king's in defense, which has been a favorite of mine for many years. Yeah, so he plays the castle, so provoking for the move e5, though I do not wish to play like this. I'm perhaps overextending my position a bit too much. So we are heading into the main line of the king's in defense. So there are several ways of playing here for Black, the main one being e5. Okay, bishop to d7. I've not seen this move before, but probably it's playable. Yeah, I will answer your question a bit later. I should play faster. Yeah, well, it depends if you are playing much blitz or if you're playing classical chess. I think for best chess improvement, you should be playing classical, as you have lots of time to think about your moves, and after which you can analyze your game and see what went wrong. But of course, it is important to be careful in chess and not to play too fast and so on, to try to take a position very seriously. So now we have a Benoni position structure where I'm not sure if the bishop on d7 is so ideally placed. I'm now going knight to d2 to overprotect my e4 pawn. The main push for Black in this kind of positions is to push the move b5. So I, of course, must prevent this by all means, in fact. So, okay, let me go bishop to f1, just protect even further the e4 pawn here. Black is probably going to go knight to c7 here, wanting to go b5. I have to go a4 here, and then it is either possible to go b6 or maybe knight to a6 and knight to b4. It's like never sure if this knight on b4 is a good piece or a bad piece, but in my experience, it usually turns out to be a bad piece. Yeah, this is possible to play, but now I think that there is some issues on the d6 pawn. Yeah, Karmic student, have I played with Magnus? Well, I've never played Magnus in a classical game, but I think we played once in Pro Chess League. I lost that game with White, didn't play so well. So yeah, but hoping to play him some other time. About Sebastian Mikhailov, I've actually played him quite some time in classical chess. We actually very often have very fighting game and very exciting games. As far as I remember, I have a slight plus score, but not so big. Yeah, very exciting player also. So now I'm playing bishop to f4, pile up on the d6 pawn. And in general, in this Benonis, if you must go passive with the black side, it's usually a sign that something has gone wrong. So I think I'm close to being winning here, though it's one thing being winning and actually winning. So now I can take the pawn on d6, though maybe then black wants to go bishop takes d6, bishop takes and bishop to g4. Though I then maybe go bishop takes c7, and I think I should be doing well. So let's see. Maybe I've blundered something here. Maybe black starts with bishop to g4. Could be an issue. Yeah. Clever. Perhaps I blundered. Okay. I haven't moved f3 in the worst case. But I don't think this is ideal, though I should still be doing well here. I think, as I am protecting. Arjan, I've played him once in classical chess. I think it was in 2016, actually, when I made my first IM norm at the age of 14 years old, and he won that game. So queen to f4 is hitting my pawns, but I think queen to f3 is quite a good response here, with the point being that if black takes on g4, I have queen takes f6, and now, yeah, go back here, but I think I'm a pawn up, and yes, my pawns are a bit ugly, but I think like being a pawn up is still a pawn up after all. So I should be doing quite well here. But soon we will enter the phase where it won't matter too much who is doing well, as it's just all about the time. So yeah, now black is spinning up, which is of course what you should be doing. King g7 to go rook to h8 makes sense. I should be careful. Let's go rook to d1, h8, king to g1, stepping out of the h file. And now I want to go d6. So yeah, knight there is a very good maneuver. Let's go d6 and anyways, and rook to d5, rook d1. Yeah, and this wins a piece for me. So yeah, let's see. Take back bishop to a2. This is okay. She's very low on time finally, but okay, good game. I've not seen the Benoni with bishop to d7, and later your pawn on d6 got a bit weak. So perhaps that was one that he started to go a bit wrong, but very exciting game and was close. It was just a time scramble. So let's see who to play next. Let's play a game against Mikey Göring 37. So let's see what we play. So yeah, okay, so lots of e4s nowadays. Let's go c5 here. My response. Let's see if here white has some fun responses up his sleeve. Knight f3. Let's play d6. Also possible to go e6 or knight to c6, but for this game, let's try d6, d4, the open Sicilian, c takes d4. Knight takes d4, knight f6. So yeah, it's nice in 3+2 that we have some time to relax, not as fast as 3+0. Yeah, and let's see. Can play the Nadorf, can play the browser. Let's play the classical Sicilian. It's a fun opening. I think before it was considered to be a second-rate opening, like not so sound, but I think nowadays it is considered to be quite good and leads to very interesting positions. So certainly very fighting. Yeah, nice to meet you guys. Fredrik Kaasen, yeah. Yeah, so bishop to e3. I can here play knight to g4, though I'm a bit worried about something hanging on c6, so I'm not so certain it does. Maybe it does. Knight to g4, knight takes c6. I know it is on lines with knight takes e3, knight takes d8, knight takes d1, but it's impossible to remember it, so I would just go g6 to go bishop to g7 if you get to my bishop, and play is likely to transpose into some kind of dragon where the bishop on b5 is not necessarily standing so well, as white does not really want to take on c6, as I will get my center more strong by taking towards the center with the pawn. So yeah, bishop to g7. But this setup for white is in general quite sound, and it's very, very playable for white to be sure. Queen d2, let's castles. So yeah, if the bishop was on c4, we would just have a mainline dragon, but with the bishop on b5, it makes me a bit more optimistic. But the position is, of course, very, very sharp, and just a few mistakes and you can easily be lost. Yeah, so now let's go knight to e5. I want to exchange off this light square bishop so that the c4 square will be in my hands. If I in general can win the dark square bishop in the dragon, the attack for white usually goes much, much shorter, and like this dark square bishop is actually quite important. So let's try and aim for that. Now if bishop to h6, I'm considering taking on h6 takes, and the classical exchange sacrifice with rook takes c3 that all dragon players dreams of. Yeah, so let's see. G4, idea to go g5. So let's see. I can go queen to a5, usual move. What I learned by this kind of structures for the white side is that you, generally speaking, don't always have the time to go g4 and then h4 and h5, like as Bobby Fischer was saying, that you just have to push h4, h5, sack, mate. But of course, it's never so easy. So let's see. Now white maybe wants to go g5, move away my knight, and then go knight to d5 when my queen have to take, and then white can go knight takes e7 with the check. So that's, of course, something to watch out for. But I noticed it with myself that I'm talking too much. So, okay, let's play the classical sacrifice here on c3. Like, I think here white should take with the queen on c3 and reach an endgame where I think, objectively speaking, white is probably slightly better, but black has a lot of play in practical sense, and I think that it's more fun to be black. So, and in any case, in a blitz game, it's more fun to be on the attacking side. It's more hard to defend. So I think this should be fun. So yeah, queen takes c3, I think is correct by white. So now I take on c3, and after bc, my argument is that yes, I have an exchange down, but white's pawns are crippled. I probably want to take it right away, but I will just have positional compensation and play on the many weak squares here for white. Though I'm not sure if, objectively speaking, my position is that great. Okay, let's see. Not sure. I mean, king to b2 is a move here, but not, yeah, it's probably what white should do. Now I want to reroute my knight to a4, so I can start to maneuver knight d8, knight c7, and then maybe knight e6, knight c5, though it takes a lot of time. So I'm not sure if I have time for it, though. Yeah, okay, let's play it. At some point, I have to speed up also. In my experience in this kind of positions, at some point it gets a bit hard to find a plan for white. Like, maybe you can push your pawns, but with the queens being off the board, it's not really that you're going to mate black. And maybe at some point, I see another idea here to go knight c7 and knight a8, knight b6 could also be nice. Okay, so now White's idea is that if I move my knight to c7, maybe f4 is possible here, as I don't have knight to c4 check. So I should watch out for that. I must say that this Mike Goring is playing extremely well. So definitely not an easy game. Okay, let's go knight to c4 check. Again, the bishop pair. So now I have bishop pair, good squares, and some like white has weak pawns. But on the other hand, white is an exchange of up, and that certainly also count for something. So, hi, Armin, how you doing? Yeah, so rook takes c4. So let's see here what white comes up with. Mr. Mike Goring. Yeah, I'm slightly regretting my choices here so far. Maybe I should not have played knight to c4, as it's simplifying the position to some extent. Yeah, okay, so h4, maybe wanting h5. I will continue my plan with knight to c7. And my firm plan is to go knight to a8 and knight to b6, then later to go knight to a4, when finally the c3 pawn will be in my hands. Yeah, I'm doing very well. I'm always doing well when I'm playing chess. It's very much fun. Yeah, so finally I get my route. I'm not sure if it's that great, but it feels good. My bishop on g7 is really a monster here. It is what keeps my position together, so it's a very important piece. Yeah, knight e2 makes perfect sense. Let's go. I can go knight to b6, so that exchanges off. So but okay, let's anyway go knight to b6. If white takes, I take back, and my dark bishop just got even better, as it does not have no opponent if white takes on b6. So if white does not take on b6, maybe knight to a4 ideas could be an issue. Yeah, so white now he takes on g6. I can include knight to a4, king to b3, bishop b6, but it seems a bit messy, so let's just take back hg. So let's see. Now my next idea is to go, yeah, so bishop to d4 is entirely correct. It's the best move to be sure. Now I just have to speed up. I have no time left. So now we will probably enter some time scramble where it's anyone's game. Let's see. Yeah, king to b1. He managed to exchange off my bishop. So yeah, and then I can potentially have some issues with my king. So I think here white is actually doing quite well, but so low on time that these things are very hard to see. Okay, so let's see. I have to go very, very fast here. Yeah, so now I'm probably in some troubles. White wants to, yeah, so I have to go f6 to not allow bishop takes g7. Oh, okay. I have to play fast here. I must say, this is really a tough 1600. Oof. One on time. Okay, that was a very hard game. Very well played, Mike Goring. So not easy game to be sure. Okay, so let's take some game. Let's try Kramnik student. Yeah, it was very interesting game. So I think yeah, this rook takes c3 is interesting, but maybe not always so correct. So let's see. Kramnik student. Kramnik is of course a legendary world champion. So if you have learned from him, not easy player. So let's play the Najdorf. It is my main opening. Yeah, so with e5, the real Najdorf, so to say. Yeah, bishop to g5. Yeah, normally speaking, when you play bishop to g5, you want to take on f6 before I can take back with the knight. So I think this position is quite good for, or not good, but I shouldn't have any problems here already. Yeah, so rook to c8. Yeah, I think probably white was winning at some point in my previous game, but never easy in blitz, and position was very complicated, so he finally lost on time. So let's see. So I'm controlling the d5 square quite nicely here, which is important in the Najdorf. Though I'm not so sure if it's so easy for me to get to play d5 here, and even if I get it, not so sure if it gives me so much. Okay, so knight to a4 has the idea to go knight to b6, but unfortunately for coming student, the c2 pawn is falling, and as it's falling, also the knight on b3 is hanging, and so it was an unfortunate blunder. Maybe it was better to start with rook to c1 instead of playing knight to a4 first. Yeah, so knight d2 is played. So white wants to go knight to b6 there still. I can go d5 here. It's certainly a possibility, though I feel like it's playing into white's hand. So maybe I'm just going to go knight to d7 here, just to avoid any knight to b6. I, of course, has to watch out for my queen getting trapped here on c2. So let's see. h3 makes sense to not get any back rank issues. I think I will go bishop to g5 here, just put some more pressure on the knight here on d2. I'm of course delighted to exchange off the queens here, as I'm a pawn up. Also now, if rook to c1, I have queen takes c1, and after takes, let's say king to h2, rook to c2 is also an idea. So that's also a point behind bishop to g5 to pin this knight. So I think I'm doing well here. Yeah, king h2, so maybe coming student, okay, but also now rook to c1 does not really work, as the knight is hanging also on a4. So let's see how to play here. Not sure exactly what's the best. I can play g6 maybe. Not so sure if it does so much, but also not so easy for white to find useful moves. Okay, when in doubt, just play king g7. Can be said, yeah, h4. Logical. A crowning student is playing well here after the unfortunate blunder. Let's go bishop to e7 back. Queen here. Let's go queen to c7. I feel like my queen has done enough damage on c2 already, so I should get it off. Yeah, knight to b6, but I'm very glad that my knight was on d7, so that I'm controlling the b6 square, and now I can take off the knight. And I think in the long run, this pawn on b6 could be a weakness, and yeah, now I can take it off. And now I'm 2 pawns up and should be winning here. Yeah, rook to c1, so I can take on b2 first, or I can include rook takes c1. Not sure what best, and if I actually want to take on b2 so much, so let's just go rook to c6. Seems like a classic move, and take with the pawn. Yeah, soon enough the time factor is going to play in. Yeah, it's 3-0. Oh, okay. Okay, so then I don't have time to talk so much. I'm a bit new to this Banter Blitz concept, so seems like I have to speed up quite much here to not get flagged. So let's see. Okay, so I take bishop d4. I have quite some experience in online blitz, so I should be doing well here. Yeah, I go rook to b8, so that I here have bishop to b3, which wins a piece. But okay, if I lose on time, then no one will care. Yeah, and here I have bishop to f2, which wins his rook. Good game. I think you had a very decent position if you first would have played rook to c1 before knight to a4, but here and pawn on c2 was falling, and your position kind of crumbled afterwards. But anyway, a good game. So let's see. Let's try this challenge. So from Chess IG. Not sure. I got this challenge very early, so I'm not sure if it's here. Thank you for the game, Kramnik students. It was very interesting. Yes. So let's see this game. Let's give it some 10 more seconds to see if it is online. If not, we can find another opponent here. So, okay, it seems like not here. So let's try abort. Yeah, here. Okay, let's see someone else if they want to play me. So let's try this game by Oops Kitty from France with 1941. Good luck. It's a 3+2 game, so I will have a bit more time to think here. Okay, so we get the classical e4, e5, knight to f3, knight to c6. I think any e4 player should switch between bishop to b5 and bishop to c4. It's like the two main moves. But okay, let's go bishop to c4 as it was played in the Ronian Nakamura game today. So I think it's quite in fashion. Short castles. I'm always very fascinated by this Italian positions. Like they seem almost completely symmetrical, but it's so much nuances and venom in these positions. It's very hard to understand everything. Okay, so let's go d4. I'm not so sure about this queen to e7 move. Like the e4 pawn is not really hanging anyways. Though I understand it's quite a possible way of playing. I think it was Sveshnikov that played in this way. I think someone told me. So now I'll go h3 to prevent the bishop coming to g4. Rook to e1. I'm not so worried about my e4 pawn says ed, cd, knight takes e4, as then here black will be in a bad pin. So I'm not so worried about this for a moment. Let's go bishop to b3, where it's a bit more safe. You put the bishop on a bit more safe square. So now it's not so easy to see how I should develop my pieces in the best way. I could go knight to d2, but that loses the d4 pawn. Bishop g5 is a possibility, but maybe h6, bishop h4, g5. Not so sure. Let's just go knight to a3 to get the knight to c4. Seems also like an interesting maneuver. I think also this knight a3 was played in today's game by Ronian. He played like knight to c4 and knight to bishop to e3. So let's try to play like Ronian. Yeah, so now I'm hitting his bishop on b6. I would, of course, love to take it off and get the bishop pair. So that's not the reason why I play a knight to c4. It is to reroute it to e3. Now the big question is, does knight e3 work here? So knight e3, knight takes e4, I have knight to d5, seems to work. And if EDI, in the very worst case, I have knight to d5. So I think I'm going to go for it. Knight e3. If I here can get the knight to d5, it seems quite nice for me. So I like my position here. Yeah, knight to d5 was my idea, with the point that if black takes, I go ed, hit knight to e5. But now I realize that in this position I can't really go cd, as knight to f3 is an issue. So I first have to take here on e5, and now go c takes d4. And the point is that if black takes, I have queen takes d4. Though I must admit I had not seen this from afar, but usually when you make like good positional moves, this kind of tactics seems to favor you just somehow. Yeah, so e4 is clever and not let me take on the e5 pawn. So now I'm going to go bishop to f4, my idea now is to go rook to c1 and pile up on the c7 pawn. But this position does not seem so clear. It seems quite playable for both sides. Let's now go rook to c1. I now see a tactical possibility potentially. Yeah, my idea was instead of bishop to b6, if black would have played rook to c8, maybe rook takes c7 and d6 was possible. Bishop to b6 is probably more solid. I can here go queen to h5. The idea is that if bishop to g6, I go queen to e5. I think I'm quite happy in general to exchange of his queen. Yeah, queen to f6 is a possibility, but isn't the c7 pawn falling? Now it gets a bit complicated. Let's see, bishop e5, queen to g6 is probably the idea. Okay, let's include bishop to e5. Queen to g6 should be played. Like, I can win the c7 pawn, but my d4 pawn is also hanging. So, but in this exchange, I am getting a passed d pawn. So I think, objectively speaking, it should be quite good for me. Oh, bishop g6 seems like very clever move. Let's go. Not sure what's the best here. Let's go queen to g4. And I have some evil tactics in mind here. So I'm not sure if they really work. They are like queen to e7. I want to go queen takes g6 and d6. Yeah, okay, so queen to f5 was here played. So we are reaching the kind of same position that I was talking about. I now want to take on f5 and go bishop takes c7. Yes, my d4 pawn is falling, but I do get the passed d pawn, which I think is quite important here, though I could be wrong, of course. My idea now is to go like rook c d1 and push the pawn to d7, where it hopefully will become a new queen. Yeah, so bishop to e5 makes sense, but I think I here have d7, and after bishop takes c7, rook takes c7. Like, my pawn is not queening for a moment, but it's also quite a strong pawn. So, okay, here I have option. I can take on b7. I can also just go rook to d1. I think I prefer to take on b7, as after rook takes d7, the e4 pawn is falling. And I will be a clear pawn up in the endgame, which should also give me quite good winning chances. But I must say that Oops Kitty is playing very well. So, okay. Rook to e8. So it's offering me the rook exchange, which I think I should accept. I think this endgame should be winning for me. So now I should improve my king, first and foremost. Very important in the endgame. So, okay, I place my king to d4. And my idea here is basically that, like, at some point, I'm going to get the passed pawn, and then it's going to be hard for black to both deal with the passed pawn and keeping the king side together. So that is my basic idea. Okay, let's play in the slow Petrosian fashion to go b3, a3, and then b4. Not to start with a3, as then a4 could be an option. So now I go h4. I can now go h5. I think I should do it to win the f5 pawn and get a passed f pawn myself. And now, yeah, with both the b pawn and the f pawn rolling up the board, I think that this endgame should be quite easily won for me here. Yeah, bishop to d5. I here go b4, takes. Bishop c6. Let's go bishop to d3 to get the pawn forward. I can soon enough to think about pushing my f pawn as well. Let's go b5. Bishop e4 does not seem like a bad move as well here also. Of course, the pawn endgame is won, and here I can go b6 and d7, which wins the piece and wins the game. So, yeah, good game. You fought very hard, and yeah, I just think that in this middle game that my past d-pawn just proved too strong, but well played. So let's see. Yeah, let's play dangerous ride. I'm not sure what I'm getting myself into, but okay, it's going to be fun. Dangerous ride. So okay, let's play the Nimso Indian. I am, by the way, guys, making a course for the black side on the Catalan, which will be released in the end of February on the Catalan for the black side. So I'm very excited for that. But to play that, you also have to play the Nimso, of course. So let's see if I can manage. Okay, so let's see. I think this is quite committal by White, as now I have the possibility of pushing G5, and if White does not take, I go G4. So yeah, he could take, but then the D4 pawn was hanging. And here I think I'm just going to bite the bullet and just go G4 to take the pawn on D4. It's like, yes, my king is a bit weak, but I think winning such a central pawn on D4 should be worth more, and I should here be doing quite well. So I take the pawn on D4. Yeah, queen to D3, hitting the knight. Not sure if to play E5 or C5. I think if I play C5, maybe E5 could be unpleasant. So let's go E5 instead. Opening up this bishop also doesn't seem bad. Yeah, I have here quite some tempting options. Not sure what is the best, but I realize that this game is 3+0, so I don't have time to think too long here. I can go, well, it's so many things I can do here. Let's go bishop to E6. Can't be wrong to just develop your pieces. Let's see. It is possible for White to go like A3. Then I think it actually just take on C3, and if BC to go like knight to B3 and knight to C5, the knight should be doing really well here. So let's see. Yeah, castles. I thought about playing something like knight to H5, so it does allow H3. So it's not 100% smooth, but okay. I think it should be quite good for me here. Knight to D5 makes perfect sense. At some point, I desperately has to speed up, so this is going to be a tough one. Yeah, so here I thought about just going C6 here to kick away the knight, and now to go knight to F4 I thought looked very tempting. To win this bishop by force, and then the knight on H4 could potentially be a bit weak. So I think to just go EF here, and here the knight on H4 is also hanging. So let's see. I think I'm doing very well here, objectively speaking, but it's of course never easy. F3, let's now go A5 to make sure that my bishop has an escape square on A7. So yeah, this pawn on F3, like, it's not doing so much for the moment, but it takes a lot of space, and it also makes it much harder for White to get pieces out. So I think I'm close to winning here. Yes, so let's go queen to F6, support this knight a bit further. Yeah, so here things are getting a bit sharp. Not sure how to, in best way, play this position. Maybe B5 is interesting here. Takes, knight takes. Maybe I have something there. Rook to B8. Not entirely convinced, but okay, let's do it then. Anyways, I value the initiative very highly. So let's see if it will work out. So now I'm also threatening bishop to C4. So I think White has to take. So I take back, and here go rook FB8. And my idea after queen to D3 was like to play queen to D4 and exchange off the queens, and to say that this position is very, very good for me. But perhaps I'm overestimating my position. I'm not sure. Yeah, but here bishop to c4 seems to be a very nice move indeed, as like I'm threatening his rook, and if he moves it to e1, I have bishop takes f2, which wins the exchange as far as I can see, and also the f pawn is winning. So after something like bishop c2, bishop takes e1, and f2, f1 is going to win like tons of material. So I think I'm gonna win this one. Okay, I'm happy I made this b5 move. Yeah, and f2 here and f1. I am a bit short of time, but I think I should manage. Okay, good game. I think the mistake which you did was to play the bishop g5, bishop h4, allowing me g5, g4. But good game. So let's see who is next. Okay, let's try a hard challenge. Let's try this FIDE Arena GM rated at 2700. So let's see if this person is here. 2700 is almost as high rated as me. So definitely should be a tough game. But seems it's not here for the moment. So let's give him 10 more seconds. Okay, seems like not here. So let's abort this game. Pity, but if you don't show up, then we not play. Okay, let's play versus Smile 7 to see if he's here. So, okay, good luck, Smile 7. Okay, I've been playing the Sicilian all day. Let's try to play the French for one. Yeah, the D3 system. This is quite interesting and leads to very fighting positions. Bobby Fischer was also playing this in many games with the white side. I'm sorry if I'm referring to him often. This is my favorite player. So yeah, okay, bishop to e7. So as far as I remember, it's also possible here to play with like long castle at some point. But okay, let's play with short castles. Let's keep it simple. Probably we are going to get some kind of position where white is pushing on the king side, yeah, with e5 gaining space, pushing like h4, h5, and so on, while I'm going to try to gain space on the queen side. In the meantime, a sharp battle is always guaranteed in this kind of positions. So, okay, let's see. So yeah, knight to h2. I know that it's possible to like play with rook e8 and bishop to f8 and h6 in some positions here. So I'm not sure if it's best here. Let's go queen to c7, wanting to take off the pawn on e5 here. And then queen e2, I wanted to go like knight to d4. Yeah, this move is possible also. Not sure what's the best way here for me to play. Let's go bishop to a6, maybe to go b4 and b3. It's important for me to like get some counterweight to the attack that white here is launching, as if not, I could be in serious troubles. Maybe it was more accurate of me to start with rook e8, so to have like this whole bishop f6, bishop f8 and h6 motive. I'm not sure. Maybe I'm in some troubles here. I'm not sure. Knight to g4 seems quite optimistic. Okay, let's go b3. Probably I'm going to get mated, but let's see. So yeah, a3 makes sense. I think also Fischer played in this way with white side in this very famous game. I think it's in 67 in Sosa. Yeah, so let's see. I can take like this a3 is slightly double-edged, like it also is playing on the side that white is worse. So could also be a bit weakening move. Okay, let's go c4. My idea is that in case of d4, I'm going to go c3, which disturbs the white queen side severely. And my hope is that in case white gets distracted on the queen side, it will be harder to successfully mate me on the king side. Though, if I'm getting mated, none of this will really matter. But I think I have a decent position here. Probably white should go BC here, after which I'm thinking I'm going to go B takes A3 and let's try to win the C3 pawn. Not so sure what is going on here. Yeah, so it was the only way for white. White could not let me take on B2 and get my pass pawns rolling. So let's see. It's not so easy for white also. Like if the queen comes to D2, knight A5 and knight to C4 is going to be very unpleasant, very fast. So knight to G5 seems interesting, maybe with some ideas such as bishop takes D5 and E6. So definitely something to look out for. Maybe I should go like knight to B6 here to protect the D5 pawn. So no tricks here for white. Yeah, maybe white might also be thinking about many sacrifices here. White also has quite a promising position, but I'm not so sure if this knight to G5 is the most effective way of playing here. Like the pieces, like I could see the pieces here standing a bit in the way here for white also. So okay, H6. Let's go G6. I can't let white take on G7 and crush my king safety. So now white has to find a way to open up the position. I'm not so scared about knight to F6 as I'm just going to take it, and his pawns are actually proving to be a nice shelter for my king here on G8. Though if white has a knockout blow, it could of course be over. That's always a bit risky playing these positions, that they can easily go wrong for both sides. Though usually it favors the stronger player, or occasionally it can go wrong. Knight to E3 seems like a step in the wrong direction, as white is going on the defensive here, as far as I can see. Maybe queen to G4 is also prepared there. Okay, let's go rook to C8, just putting more pressure on the C3 pawn. If queen to G4, maybe I have like queen to D7 to not allow knight takes E6. Cheers, Mark. Hi. Yeah, queen to G4 was expected. Let's go queen to D7. Now my rook on C8 comes in handy, as I'm threatening to take on C3. Yeah, rook takes C3, knight takes E6, takes, queen takes, king H8. I mean, I'm a full piece up, so my feeling says that this should not really work out for white, but maybe it does. Maybe I should be a bit more careful here. And also, it's not so clear to see like what white is doing next. So, okay, let's just go rook to C6. Let's not give white anything here. And just not allow white to take on E6 for the moment. So this could also backfire. Let's see. Yeah, this is quite a battle. Smile 7 is putting up a hard fight. Yeah, knight to D1. Let's go knight to C4. The moment white goes passive, this like I'm always welcoming that. So yeah, now I want to go. Yeah, but this seems like losing a piece. Yeah, unfortunately. Yeah, very tense, but unfortunately, it seems like the complications got the better of white here. Yeah, king to H2, but now I have bishop takes G5, and after queen takes I have knight to F3 check. But look out for those tactics. Okay, good game, Smile 7. It was a hard fought battle, so thank you so much. Yeah, let's try some more games. Let's try Syrian 77 in 3-0. So has to play fast here. Knight to 3. Let's go D5. G3. I like nowadays to go the G6 system, to go bishop to G6 e7, and then to push e5. The knight is very often going to e7 in this kind of structures. So it's quite a playable system actually for both sides. I see it like as a trend also that white players is also playing like this, as it leads to quite fighting positions. So here I have a choice. I can play with c6. I can also go with knight to c6. Let's go knight to c6. It's all possible here, like many setups. Hard to say what is the best. Yeah, c3, very usual move. I can go h6. I can go rook e8. Not sure what is best. White, generally speaking, wants to go like rook e1, take on d5, and go knight to c4. That's generally speaking White's idea in this kind of structures. Let's go b6. It could backfire as after takes. My long diagonal is weak, so maybe I will regret this move. But for the moment, it seems like I'm doing fine. But you always have to watch out for these things. So yeah, after playing b6, you of course must put your bishop on this diagonal. It's important. a4, usual move to push. Okay, maybe not push, but just to take some space. Let's go rook e8. Natural move. Now that my bishop is not going to e6, maybe it's not so natural to go h6 as knight to g5 ideas is not really so likely to be annoying here. So yeah, okay, queen to e2, natural move. Let's go queen to d7. Queen to d6 is also possible, but I don't want to let them get knight to c4 with a tempo. So I'm just going to play like this. b3 makes sense to get the c1 bishop into the game. Now we are just developing our pieces into natural squares. So here I have to come up with a plan how I wish to play this position. I think my knight on e7 is potentially slightly misplaced. So maybe it makes sense to try to move it somewhere else. Maybe push a5 here to not let white get b4, take some square. But later it could be an idea to go like d takes e4, and if d to later play knight to c8 and knight to d6. I had a game in the European Championship here from the white side in a similar position where black played knight to c8 and knight to d6, where the knight standing quite well. But now I have to watch out for some discoveries in the d file, so I'm going to go queen to c8 and bishop to a6. Hit the queen from his long diagonal. Probably white should go bishop to f1 if he foresees this. But I realized that this is also a 3+0, so does not have time to talk so much, unfortunately. Yeah, now maybe knight takes b6 is threatened. I'm not entirely sure, but I should definitely watch out. Let's go queen to e6. His knight is also pinned, so could be good for me. So maybe I blundered slightly here. I think I'm getting slightly outplayed here, so should watch out. Yeah, knight to e3, very usual maneuver. Also bishop to c4 is coming. This seems like bad news for me. I have to watch out. Let's go. Not sure actually. Okay, let's go back to c8, bishop c4, maybe go bishop to a6. Exchange off. Yeah, let's go rook to d8. Want to trade some pieces. Yeah, it seems like white is slightly drifting here. Doesn't seem like has such a plan. Let's take on d1 and go knight d8, maybe to go knight to e6 and knight to c5, hitting the pawn on e4. As far as I can see, this drops the pawn on e4. I could be blundering, not sure. Yeah, winning this pawn is of course great news for me. Queen e2. Yeah, let's go queen to b7. Queen seems very strong on this long diagonal, so I should be doing very well here once again. Now, of course, I just want to take his knight on f3. Let's go knight to e6. This was the plan behind our moves. Yeah, exchanging of the light bishop is, of course, in my interest as well, as now his light squares are quite weak, as we here see by knight to g5. All kinds of knight to f3 ideas are threatened, and here I think I've made with knight h3 and queen to h1 mate. But very good game. I felt like I was getting outplayed at some point. So good game, Syrian 77. Okay, I see that FIDE Arena GM is challenging me. So let's give him another chance to play a 2700. So this is going to be quite a tough opponent, of course. Yeah, so he's playing this system with knight to c6. I know it's played quite much nowadays, and like with d4, yeah, with d5. Yeah, let's see. I usually play with e5 here. I have not looked at this line in ages, so this could go very wrong. Yeah, f6 is like usual move. I think to go like bishop to b5. I think I saw a game here like some years ago where like white just took on c6 and played like bishop to f4 at some point and just said like this is good, you're not threatening so much. But not sure if this is here. I could go like f4 here. Also, it's also weakening slightly. Hard to say. But it seems to me that that black, generally speaking, wants to castle queenside here. So maybe it makes sense to take off this knight on c6. And so now it's much harder for black to castle queenside. Maybe it makes sense and go like knight to f3 and short castles. Yes, black has the bishop pair, but maybe the weak pawns and some weak squares can prove more of an importance in the long term. Here, knight to h4 seems tempting. Take off his strong light square bishop. If I can win his light square bishop, he will not have the bishop pair advantage, and potentially he will just have weak pawns. Here, bishop to e4 seems like the critical move, being honest. But yeah, probably I should have been a bit more careful here. This seems to be very, very sharp. Let's go knight to c3. Bishop to b4 should be played here. He takes. I think that's a mistake as far as I could feel. Okay, not sure if my feeling makes any sense here. So let's see. I can go like queen to h5, check g6, queen takes e5, queen takes h4, take on h8. A bit shaky, but maybe it should work for me. I'm not sure. If I take on e4, he wants to take on h4. I feel like I have a huge development lead, and that should also be quite promising for me. I could also just be entirely wrong, and black is already doing very well. For all that I know. So let's see. Let's calculate a bit further. Queen h5, g6, queen e5 takes. Bishop takes g2. It's very hard to say. Maybe it's just too crazy, this position. Knight g5. Very hard to say. Let's go for a bit more safe option with knight takes e4. So my intuition tells me that probably queen h5 was working. I'm just gonna go for the development lead and hope that gives me an edge. Could be wrong though. I don't often get these kind of positions, so they are very hard to play for both sides. Now I just want to go short castles, get my king into safety. I think I'm a pawn bound, but I have some lead in the development. Very hard to say what is going on. I could be much worse. I could be doing well. Hard to say. Is everyone in the chat GM? That would be very cool. Let's see here. Yeah, so he's thinking, which I think is a smart move. Should think when the position is complicated. Maybe something like h6 there could be a move, though. King to e7. Wow. Okay, now I'm just going to go. I feel like king e7 is definitely not right. I can go knight to f3, though queen e4, bishop e3 takes, knight takes. I can also just castle. So many options. Very hard to say what is the best. Let's just castles, just go for the development lead. My idea after queen takes d4 is, one idea was to take on d4 and go like rook to e1 and later gain back the e6 pawn with the big initiative. But this I think is a horrible move, since now I go knight to f3 and I just regain the pawn back on e5 and I'm completely winning here, as it's equal material, but my pieces are so much better than black's here. Probably he missed that knight to f3 is hitting everything. So here black is of course in big troubles. So let's see. One idea is also to go like b3 and bishop to a3 if needed. Like if king to d6, maybe b3 is a very strong move with the mate on a3 coming. Yeah, this is possible. I still think I just go b3 to go bishop to a3. Seems like very hard for black to get out of this alive. Also, he's getting short on time, which does not make matters more easy. King to d8 seems like a good fighting option. Not sure how to play exactly. Maybe just go rook e1, overprotect my knight here on e5. Like, it's equal material. I don't really need to rush anything here. Though it's also good to, like, if I wait too much, my initiative could also slowly fade away, so I don't have all the time in the world also. Let's go queen to h5. Probably he should take on e5, get rid of my enormously strong knight. Yeah, I think then to go rook takes e5. Yeah, but this I think loses a rook as far as I can see. Unfortunate. Yeah, takes here. And let's go like knight f7, and on g6 I have knight to e5 check. Yeah. Oh, he didn't lose some time. Wow. Fast. Let's take on d6. I'm a full rook up, so there should be good chances for me. Let's go queen to f3 here. Every time I think he's going to lose some time, he always finds a move in the last second. It's amazing. Okay, let's go c3 to make sure that he won't get a very, very strong center. Bishop to a3 makes sense here, I think. Yeah, and finally he lost some time. Okay, very, very interesting game. I'm not sure at all what was going on. Probably you were doing okay at some point, but after I got knight to f3 and knight takes e5, I think I'm winning. Okay, let's give chess castle a game. So I'm here white. Let's try and play d4. I like to mix it up to both play e4 and d4. I think chess would be a bit more boring if you can only play one opening all the time. So good to switch it up. Yeah, so here we have the Grunfeld defense. Yeah, not sure what to play versus the Grunfeld. Maybe try the bishop to g5 line. Could be interesting. Yeah, he plays the. I think Peter Svidler likes this move with bishop to g7. Let's go like e3. I don't want to play so theoretically here, but versus the Grunfeld, I think I think versus the Grunfeld, you probably should try to find some challenging way of playing, as black is doing quite well in his sidelines. Though I haven't really looked, so here we are with a sideline. But I think if black doesn't know it, we still will just get a playable game with chances for both sides. Yeah, good game, Mark. You played very well. If it was you who played. So let's see. Probably black can play like c5 here. Looks reasonable. It's like the typical Grufeld move. Yeah. Okay. I think black should be able to equalize here, but never so easy. Yeah. So he plays c5. Not sure how to play. Maybe I should try to take off this knight on f6. And I can go knight x5, though. I think just bishop to g7 and e6 is coming. CD. I think I saw something like CD, knight x4 and queen to b6 somewhere that this is like playable. I was looking at something like this for the black side at some point. So I think like c takes d4 and queen to b6 is the way to go here. Though maybe not in this specific position. It's hard to say. There is so much to know nowadays that it's hard to keep track of everything. Yeah, but it seems like black knows what it's doing. Probably by a miracle, we transposed into something known. So it's quite funny. Yeah. Black could also play like maybe knight d7, knight to b6 to try to take the pawn on d5. So I go bishop e2, bishop f3, maybe not entirely convincing. So I mean, I'm a pawn up here. Black has to prove that he has compensation. If not, a pawn is a pawn after all. I can go knight to b3, but maybe it makes his bishop a bit too strong. So I kind of like queen to d2. Like, yes, he can take on d4. I must take with the pawn. My pawns are not impressive, but if I can keep a pawn up, I should be happy. This reminds me slightly of like the pawn off for the white side. Like you have a pawn up, it's a bit bad, but if black can't regain it, could potentially be quite annoying. Yeah, let's go bishop to e2. I like it here as it sometimes can go to f3 to defend the pawn on d5. Now my next plan is just to go short castles and get my king into safety here. And I mean, black has some compensation, but if it's enough for a pawn, that's the question. And by every move we are making, I feel like my position is gradually improving slightly. So he has to find something quite faster. If not, I think I'm doing quite well. He's also very short on time. So now, yeah, he takes on d4 is committal. So if I take with the queen, is hanging on b2. These are the do not want, so I take with the pawn. Now he has a bit weak dark squares potentially. So maybe one idea could be like to go knight e4 and queen h6. But okay, let's first defend this pawn on d5. Maybe it could result in black getting so carried away trying to regain this pawn that I get even better chances to make my attack succeeded. Yeah, but now I think I should just be a pawn up for close to nothing. So yeah, but now my d-pawn is simply amazing. Okay, I think I'm going to win this game. Now I want to go d6 and knight to d5 and knight to e7. Yeah, d6. Yeah, here, but wait a second. Here I should be accurate. So let's calculate slightly here. Let's see this line. Yeah, okay. Why to calculate when you can just play like knight to e4 to go knight to f6. Yeah, queen a6, but I can go knight to f6, but I think this seems even better. And okay, black resigns. Good game, chess castle. I think you should have a compensation in that position, but it is of course never easy to prove in Blitz. So, okay, let's play 2 more games, and then we call it a day. whom to play. Maybe play someone I haven't played before. Who I haven't played. Maybe I can play Ayderis Kem from Mexico. So 3+0. Let's see if Ayderis Kem is here. Let's give it 10 more seconds. This seems to be the rule this day. If it's not here after 10 seconds, we change. Seems like not here, unfortunately. Okay, let's find someone else. Let's try Kuliet Singka Kurna. Sorry if I mispronounced your name. Let's see if he is here. 3+0 here once again. So, okay, let's have a countdown. 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. Okay, not here. Let's find someone else. Okay, let's try the Golden Boy 97. Let's hope that he is here. The Golden Boy. Yeah, my username on Chess24 is Kaasen02. So you can challenge me if you're a premium member. Well, it seems like for the last games, many are not here. So let's try and take the first one that sent me. So Monkey King 37. So let's play Monkey King, and okay, if the game lasts long, perhaps it's going to be the last game of today. So let's see. So probably we will get a sharp Sicilian game here with d4. Monkey King is probably well booked up in this theory nowadays. Yeah, okay, so we get the classical Sicilian once again. Let's play my bishop to c4 here. Once again, it worked so well in the, I think it was the second game of this Banter Blitz. So let's see if it will work out again. Yeah, I should try to reach higher than 2800. Yeah, right. Let's go bishop to e3. Bishop takes. Okay, so maybe we will reach the exact same line as we played in the first game with e5 here. So yeah, it seems like Monkey King knows this quite well. I mean, he plays it faster than the first guy that played this. So okay. Thank you so much for watching. Very glad you enjoyed it. Yeah, so e takes d4. Yeah, I think queen to g5 is the main move. Here, queen to e2, protecting against the mate on g2. I think by theory, once again, this position is equal, but well, I think Jan Timman once wrote that this is one of the most complicated positions in chess, almost like this theoretical discussion. I think he wrote in some book. So definitely not easy for any sides. Yeah, now I can place my rook on e1 or to d1. Maybe it makes sense to play rook to d1 to protect up my bishop and potentially protect my pawn on d6. Maybe also rook to d3, rook to g3, though black is going to go h4. So not sure. Yeah, the next Banter Blitz. So I'm going to publish my chessable course on the black side of the Catalan at the end of February. So hopefully I will be back for a new Banter Blitz sometime in March. I'm not sure when will be the next time, but I think it's very fun to play this Banter Blitz. Okay, so now I can. I mean, this this h5, h4 is very modern treatment of this position. I think it seems quite interesting. Not sure if it is 100% correct, but let's see. I can play like bishop to c2 to place my bishop in a long diagonal. I feel a bit that the queen stands too well on g5, so I'm going to go bishop to e3, kick it away, and maybe to go like queen to f2, saying that the pawn on h4 could potentially be a bit weak. So my feeling is that I have a slightly better position here, but hard to say once again. Yeah, queen to g6 possible. Now I wanted to go rook to d4 to either hit his queen with rook to g4 or to just straight up taking the pawn on h4. Generally speaking, I like to play for the initiative and like not to take such pawns, but if I'm allowed, I'm not so hard to ask, yeah, how to say. Yeah. So now he played knight to f6. It seems to me that bishop to c2 should be a good move here. If I take on h4, there is rook takes d6. So then there is bishop to c5. Maybe it's good for me. I'm not sure. I like a bishop to c2 a bit more, just hitting his queen. Probably he should go bishop to e4 here. So then I have rook takes f6 in fact. I think bishop to c2 is a very strong move. If queen to h5, I have rook takes first taking on h5 and then going rook takes h4 as far as I see. And this position should be very good for me. With well, I'm just a pawn up on d6 and with the mating attack here. So does now any rook takes f6 business work? I mean, probably it works, but is it any reason to go for it is more the question. Okay, let's try finish off this Banter Blitz in fashion. Let's calculate a bit here. Probably there is like many ways to win this position. Though not sure what's the best. I mean, I can't take on f6 or like bishop to h6 here. Point if he takes on d6, I have rook to g4, bishop to d7, and bishop f6 mate. Though he probably just goes f5 there, and maybe I just have like here I have the bishop pair and a strong pawn on d6. I am winning if I just play it slowly also. So yeah, maybe h3. You mean playing h3 for me? Yeah, it was possible, but I thought that he was not in time to play like h3 himself, so I kind of wanted to like get that pawn. So if that makes sense. Yeah, so this position is for sure winning for me, but it requires some technique. Not sure what's the best way. Maybe go like rook to d4. I'm now switching my ideas from checkmate to just trying to win with my pawn on d6. e5, but this makes my bishop on c2 slightly more strong. So now bishop f5 ideas could be annoying. So I have to watch out to not get it in some obstacle or bishop endgame. So let's go rook to h4 to not allow bishop to e4s. And now, if it's my turn, I would love to go bishop to f5, kick away this rook on d7. Yeah, I'm low on time here. I have to speed up. I didn't realize. Okay, let's play faster. That's the problem in this Banter Blitzes, yeah, that you don't really have the time that you wish to explain everything. Yeah, e3. Probably he should go. I then plan to go like rook e1 and to say that the pawn will be lost. So if it is not lost, it could be a strong pawn. This has gotten a bit out of hand, so not ideal, but it seems to me if e2, rook f2, knight e4, rook takes e2, yeah, that it works out for me. So I think I'm still winning. So it's far from as smooth as I would have wished it to be. Yeah, let's now just take the pawn on e3. Let's not make it so hard for ourselves. here he should probably take off the pawn on d6. a4 could be possible, but now I wanted to go bishop to d4, which some kind of stability. It's very important. And okay, some technique is needed. Certainly, it does not win by itself. Okay, let's go for the endgame here with bishop takes f6, like a rook endgame. I think rook endgames are healthy. Yeah, okay, let's take on b3 here. He should go gf. And here we reach an interesting endgame. Let's go rook to f5. He can check me twice and take on b2. I take on b5. I should have very good winning chances here. King f2, yeah. Yes, probably he goes rook to d2. I go king to f3 to defend my g2 pawn. Yeah, he takes on b2. I take on b5. I'm a pawn up, but as is quite famous, they say that all rook games are draw. I do not really believe in it, but let's see if I can manage to win this game. I think as this game is quite long, probably it's going to be the last game of today. I'm sorry, but so probably this is going to be the last game. So let's go g3 to make sure that I won't lose my extra pawns. Now I have some options. I can go like king f4, but I don't have time for this. Let's take on a5 and go king to f4. Probably I spoiled slightly here, but I think I'm still winning here. I want like rook e5 check and take his pawn on f5. And yes, he will win my pawn, but potentially, if king to d6, maybe c5 is very accurate here, as the pawn endgame is winning for me. So if it takes, I take back and take on f5, and this I take on f5, and I think this endgame is completely winning now. Yeah, and finally Monkey King here loses on time, but the endgame was lost. Very hard fought game. I think at some point it went slightly wrong, but these positions are really not easy for black side and for white side to play. So I think this was it for today's Banter Blitz. Thank you so much for watching. I hope you enjoyed it. I'm not sure when the next Banter Blitz will be, but hopefully not too soon. So thank you so much for watching, and see you. Goodbye.